There are family secrets, and then there are the kind that rewrite your entire family tree. When my mom told me she was finally adopting a child, I couldn't have been happier for her. I never imagined that a few weeks later, we'd discover she was bringing home someone who had been part of our family all along. My name is Jake, and this is the strangest family story I've ever lived through. Growing up, my mom always dreamed of having a big family. She raised my two sisters and me mostly by herself after my dad passed away when I was 12. She worked 2 jobs, missed vacations, skipped buying herself nice things just so we never went without. By the time all of us had moved out, the house became painfully quiet. Every time I visited, she'd say the same thing: I miss hearing someone call me mom. At first, I thought she needed a hobby, maybe travel, maybe volunteering. Instead, she surprised everyone. At 54 years old, she decided to become a foster parent with the hope of eventually adopting a child who needed a permanent home. The process wasn't simple. Months of background checks, home inspections, medical evaluations, interviews that lasted hours. There were moments she almost gave up, but she never did. Nearly a year later, she finally got the phone call she'd been praying for. A 12-year-old boy named Noah needed placement. She was nervous before meeting him. What if he doesn't like me? What if I disappoint him? I told her the truth. Mom, you've spent your entire life making people feel safe. You'll be fine. When she met Noah, something immediately felt different. She couldn't explain it. She just kept saying he looked familiar, not identical to anyone, just strangely familiar. She laughed about it afterward. Maybe it's because he smiles like your grandfather. We all laughed. It seemed like one of those strange coincidences your brain creates. Over the next few weeks, Noah spent more time with our family. He fit in almost immediately. He loved fishing, so had my grandfather. He hated mushrooms, exactly like my younger sister. He even had the same crooked smile that ran through our family. Friends joked that he already looked like one of us. Looking back, that joke wasn't funny. It was accurate. One Sunday afternoon, everything changed. Mom was showing Noah old family photo albums. He loved looking at pictures of what our family had been like years earlier. Halfway through one album, he suddenly pointed at an old photograph. She looks like my mom. We all looked. The woman in the picture was my Aunt Linda, Mom's younger sister. I smiled. They do look a little alike. Mom didn't smile. She kept staring at the photo, then at Noah, then back again. Something about her expression changed. She quietly closed the album. The room suddenly felt uncomfortable. That evening, Mom called Aunt Linda. At first it sounded like a normal conversation. Then I heard silence, long silence. Finally, Mom asked one sentence that I'll never forget. Linda, is there something you've never told me? The next morning, my aunt drove 3 hours to Mom's house. She looked terrified. I'd never seen her cry before. She barely sat down before admitting everything. 30 years earlier, she'd had a daughter while she was still in college. The baby's father disappeared before the birth. Unable to raise a child alone, she'd placed the baby for adoption. Only my grandparents had known. Nobody else, not even Mom. Years later, that daughter grew up, eventually had a son, Noah. After both of his parents died in separate tragedies, he entered the foster care system. Neither he nor any of us knew our families were connected. The paperwork had never linked the records together because the original adoption had been completely sealed decades earlier. Nobody at the agency realized they were placing Noah with his biological great-aunt for several minutes. Nobody spoke. Noah looked completely overwhelmed. He wasn't just learning he had relatives. He was learning that he'd been sitting in their living room every weekend for the past month. Mom walked over, knelt beside him, and quietly asked, "Would you still like to stay here?" He didn't answer immediately. Instead, he hugged her, really hugged her, the kind of hug that says more than words ever could. There wasn't a dry eye in the room. The following months were filled with lawyers, social workers, and more paperwork than I thought existed. Because Noah had biological relatives willing and able to care for him, the adoption process changed completely. Instead of continuing as unrelated strangers, the court approved a kinship placement. Legally, he remained part of our biological family while still receiving the stable home Mom wanted to give him. It felt like life had somehow corrected a mistake nobody even knew existed. The biggest surprise came later. Noah asked if he could still call Mom, Mom. He explained that she'd become the first adult who'd made him feel completely safe since losing his parents. Mom cried harder than I'd seen since Dad's funeral. She told him, "You can call me whatever makes your heart feel at home." Today, Noah is 16. He still lives with Mom. He's thriving in school. He beats me at basketball almost every weekend now, which I'm still convinced is unfair. Our family gatherings are louder than ever, exactly the way Mom always wanted. Sometimes people ask whether discovering he was our cousin made things awkward. Honestly, no. If anything, it explained why everything had felt so natural from the beginning. The connection we'd all noticed wasn't imaginary. It had always been there. We just didn't understand it yet. Looking back now, I realize this story isn't really about adoption. It's about second chances. My aunt got a chance to reconnect with the family she'd lost. Noah got a chance to know where he came from. And my mom, she got exactly what she'd been praying for. A house that finally felt full again. Life has a strange way of bringing people back together, sometimes through years of searching, sometimes through complete coincidence, and sometimes through a little boy who unknowingly found his way back to the family that had been waiting for him all along. If you've ever experienced an unbelievable family coincidence that changed your life, share your story in the comments below. Sometimes the most unbelievable stories are the ones that turn out to be true.